Have you guys ever had a game where you really want to push in T1 and you're on a very interesting map that is completely covered in metal? And so you decide to try to abuse your understanding of the map to its fullest potential and, try to win the game, obviously. So I'm out here. I end up wanting to go for a T1 push. I've been actually enjoying the T1 push a lot more lately. Going strictly for a aggressive T1. I find that it's very entertaining to do. You can catch your opponent off guard a lot of times because they are, maybe expecting you to push to a certain extent and then pause or, collect your resources and maybe tech up a bit. But if you play really aggressively, you can catch them completely off guard. Anyway, with Rosetta, this is the map. The name of the map we're playing on. We have some very interesting things. We have a 10 metal placement here, and it is very, very valuable. You have one mechs producing 10 metal right off the bat in the game. 2 locations just like that. The most important locations in this map are the centers, and then most of the rest of the map has a relatively low metal spots. You can see we do have a 2 and a 1, but a lot of lower metal placements as well. And then when you get closer to the center, you do have a couple 3s and some more 2s up there. So very, very heavy, dense metal locations along with some lighter metal locations. Anyway, on this map, it's very interesting because the wind speed is relatively low. You can see we have a maximum wind speed of 10 and an average wind speed of 7.5. And due to the fact that we have so much mexes that are available, oftentimes everyone will generally just build solar panels, and that is actually recommended. So solar panels are a little bit cheaper for Cortex, which also tends to lead people to want to build in the Cortex faction rather than using Armada, because it does cost a little bit more on the solar panel side. Anyway, so we're going to be doing an interesting build here. We're just going for a grunt thug push mixed in with some grave robbers as well. You can see we have that on a repeat command so that we can constantly turn out units over time. And we've got our construction turret here. This guy is going to help us be able to expand our energy. That is one thing that is very interesting when you only have solar panels to work with early on, is your energy will often start to lack scaling, so you have to keep a very close eye on your energy scaling with maps like this. You want to make sure that you have at least one construction who is available to produce energy quickly. Got a little bit of aggression here with some blitzes. We ended up shutting one of them down, and they killed a couple of our grunts and wounded another one. Not too much damage here, while our commander is pushing up to grab these juicy metal extractors. We are laning against Skatex, which is a 2-chef, relatively new player, and he does very well at holding his own here. Grabbing these mexes. And we also have Manjabahi in the center here, the purple player, with opening with Armada vehicles. Kind of a rarity on this map, in my opinion. Armada being a little bit more expensive with the solar panels, and vehicles being a little bit harder to push out immediately. That you don't have quite as many units right off the bat, and a lot of their units are a little bit more expensive. But I'm not going to judge. I think he did quite well holding his front line. You can see we got our thugs marching up, just keeping an eye on what is in front of us here. And we're just focusing entirely on mexes, really. That's the main thing you want to do early on, is keep an eye on those mexes. Get them upgraded as quickly as possible. Ooh, here we can see Prickly going for a very aggressive play, trying to go straight for thin froth in a commander duel of the century. Froth, however, having quite an energy stall, unfortunately. So we got a vision of radar here. We'll just snipe that, do a little bit of aggression. Thugs being very strong at chunking away at units while being out of range. Very valuable. Getting a couple good hits on the commander here. The commander, you can see, has a bit of low energy as well, so he's not going to be able to do much to them. Yeah, just getting extremely good value here, and that's very important with bots right off the bat, is you want to try to take these very beneficial trades early on. You can see we have some res bots coming out, and these guys are just going to be maintaining our front line and helping repair everything we can while chipping away. Our commander, unfortunately, is sitting here AFK, which never is good. You don't want your commander to be sitting for too long without doing some other things, you know, helping repair, helping get mexes, maybe sucking up some of that delicious metal. And one of my favorite strategies to use with bots actually is to go for resurrection. You can see we have added this blitz into our army, and now he has switched sides to help us destroy his opponents. Yeah, very valuable to be able to duplicate your army rapidly. And the thug push continues. Massive damage on the front, taking out whistlers and smashing. We got some of these grunts coming up in the back as well, rushing forward. And the commander's really close to us here. We don't want to get too much damage from these D guns. I especially want to protect my thugs when it comes to the D guns, because those are definitely worth a lot more. You can see the red commander here is pushing us as and taking quite the advantageous trade with some of those incisors being extremely fast units. Really quite tough to take out all of these guys. I try to pull my res bots back here just to save as many as I possibly can. Resbots being the backbone of your entire bot army, while our commander does a couple repairs. This push was definitely not a great thing for me, although it did leave a lot of metal in our location here. Unfortunately, oh, this guy's trying to suck up some of it. I would definitely preferred that he didn't do that. That way I can maybe abuse it a bit. Back at base, we definitely need some more build power. You can see we are overflowing in the energy department, or in the metal department, which is never good to do. So we're trying to maximize our metal consumption here. The orange commander pushing on us, Melim, and we're getting a little bit of poke damage, which isn't great here. Still just trying to build up our forces after quite the large and powerful victory we had there at the beginning. Ooh, good shots on these whistlers, but not quite taking them down quick enough there, unfortunately. Thugs continuing to push on, and we did end up capturing one of these pounders. Pounders being extremely good as swarm units. Yeah, well, honestly, pounders being good at almost everything. The only thing they struggle with is like long range units that are able to outmaneuver them, because pounders are extremely slow with only a speed of 41. That's incredibly slow there. I do, however, want to take a look at Pink here. He is doing lots of aggression on poor Nick Vabs, who is a 3 OS player with 3 chevs. Definitely going to end up needing some help, I think. Most of his units are grouped up here, taking a lot of splash damage as well, and his commander, unfortunately, not knowing how to repair his units. This is a tough fight. So we did end up pushing back Skitex and getting almost into the back line, pulling our resbots back. It does look like we go for the aggressive play on orange here, which ends up turning out quite well for me, doing plenty of damage. And that means we will be able to get in on his solar panels and his base. Extremely valuable trades. Definitely definitely worth the death that we have received. You can see I have vision of a gauntlet here, and my commander is going for a very advantageous play. This is something that is excellent. We get to push up, and we've got nothing but D guns waiting for these fellows. We're definitely not going to let that aggravator stay alive. We D-gun his base, D-gun that or agitator, sorry, not aggravator, agitator, and we are gone, escaping with our life. Meanwhile, Pink doing massive damage on poor Purple. His commander's almost dead, only 4% health left. Oh, 1% health. He is a moments away from death, unfortunately, with little backup to help. Now, after such a victory, we got to do a little bit of recalibrating, getting our army back up and organized. Our production is scaled rapidly. We have massive amounts of units coming out, overflowing energy, thugs, grunts, resbots. The army is incredible, and all I can see is Pink pushing my poor friend Nick Vabs, who is definitely going to need my help. So the only thing I can think to do at this point is to probably line up against him and do a little bit of cutting away at him as well here. Light laser turrets are decent for backing up damage. They do have a large amount of DPS. The only problem with them is they don't have a lot of health. So pushing a couple light laser turrets with a handful of thugs is just going to be infinite value for the thugs. You definitely want to make sure you have some units if you are going to use a bunch of light laser turrets. You want actual units to be taking the hits, actual units to be fighting for that area. You can see Pink is doing a strategic retreat here. He did end up killing our friend on the bottom side there, and we are actually going for his base with a bunch of grunts. Not really getting as much value as I would have hoped. These shuriken come in and stun them all down. But thankfully we did win the thug battle here. And we have a ton of res bots just available to fight. I do go for the reclaim here just because it's not fully secured. It's not a guarantee that we will win this fight. And I'm going to just pull them back for safety's sake. It does look like we end up shutting down Pink's commander, which is good. We have Green coming in with the T2 transition, getting out tons and tons of hounds. Look at all these hounds. Hounds being very, very effective. They have an extremely long range, decent heavy plasma ball they can launch into the opponents, so very effective. And I believe I'm at the point where I'm transitioning. Yes, we've got a T2 constructor. Thankfully someone handed this to me without really having me pay anything, which was extremely nice of them. So I'm able to transition without really any massive cost to myself. As you know, when you upgrade these mexes, they will quadruple your income, although they do have quite a significant energy cost as well at 10 energy per mex, whereas a normal mex, a small mex, only costs 3 energy per mex. So you can see as you continue to upgrade mexes, after it compounds 10 per mex. I mean, you do that 10 times and it's 100 energy in just your mexes alone. So we are now in an energy deficit, so I'm going to work on getting our energy production up. I basically just ignore the factory for a while and focus entirely on energy production because we have the metal. We're on the border of overflowing here, you can see, and so I just want to scale energy as rapidly as possible. And then later on I'm going to want to get a fusion. It's just I need the energy to be able to afford the fusion first. So that's kind of where we are here. Our front line is amazing. We have millions of grunts, millions of thugs, and a decent amount of resbots, I believe, as well, that were over here, and they just did a giant resurrection across the map, which is great. I do think that Green kind of missed out on an opportunity here. Captain, he could have definitely pushed very aggressively and took out all of Pink's base there with this amount of hounds. These are just a massive pile. How many is this? Like some 20-30 hounds, I think. Let me see. Yeah, 31 hounds. That is definitely enough to do a lot of damage. Anyway, so we grab our army here. We got a lot of thugs, a lot of grunts pushing in on the enemy. Once again, reminding you that the number 10 mechs is the most valuable mechs in the map, so we want to try to harass this down. We have the commander here who is low energy, and he does have a lot of damage there exploding. Probably would have been better to try to avoid that, but I think I was a little bit distracted. We do, however, end up getting the kill on his T2 base right here. Very good. And we do have a Tsar. We are facing Tsars being very effective at taking out spam, but thankfully he is alone and relatively easy to shut down in a solo one-on-one match. We're spreading as far as we can, going through and taking out everything we can see along the way. Yellow helping in clean up these grunts and thugs here, but still taking a decent amount of damage themselves, and our army is basically dwindled down to almost nothing. I'm mostly just focused on doing a little bit of harassment that I can along the way, knowing I'm probably not going to end up getting any massive kills. You know, there comes a point where T1 units can only do so much. You know, you can push for so far, and they just kind of fade out as you continue to push with them, as units keep doing damage to them over time. So yeah, very good push over here, honestly. And you can see we have some snipers coming out from red. Definitely a big threat, but not really a threat to the grunt. The grunt is very good actually at taking out snipers if they can get up to them. However, these shock bots are going to be very good at removing the thug or the grunt threat, as they can do multiple chain reaction shots into the spam, which is very tough to deal with. So I end up just calling it there. I'm like, okay, we have a very strong defenses here from Pink. He is obviously, or from red, I mean, he's obviously wanting to protect those snipers. There's basically no chance I have of pushing in and getting valuable kills. So we just create a simple grunt wall here, and we're gonna work on transitioning to T2. You can see we've got a handful of fiends coming out. Fiends being exceptionally good at killing spam, exceptionally fast, and have a decent health pool of 1000 health compared to a grunt which only has 200. So very strong, very powerful, and very common for taking out spam, and they're very fast, so that's very good as well. And we got a couple of fusion reactors coming up, and we're starting to overflow energy while also being low on metal. And at this point where we are low on metal, I'm going to be sucking up all of our T1 solar panels, as they are relatively expensive and don't provide that much energy. So I'm just going to remove all the solar panels from my entire base and make sure that I rely on the powerful and effective energy of the fusion reactor. Very strong. And we're also going to be putting up a couple energy converters here as well. You can see we also are pushing out sumos, being also a relatively good anti-spam with a 5000 health pool. Very effective, very strong. And we've got a large army of grunts mixed with fiends, which is a devastating combo here. The fiends doing lots of damage, and the grunts kind of being a distractive force, able to completely shred anything that comes into its face. Pushing here towards this yellow commander, which still has somehow lived throughout all of this fighting, doing good damage on him. He's gonna die, I believe, relatively soon here. Actually, we did get some good hits off on him, and that fiend's going to slowly burst him down. Boom, commander is gone, and all the thugs and fiends push in, wiping out the energy for yellow's base here. Oh, devastating, absolutely devastating. And I do want to try to get red, as I know he is cranking out these snipers, and those are going to be devastating for us. He has a massive amount of build power, but shurikens are just so strong at stopping my aggression here. It's kind of unmatched. Very, very hard to push. So we end up having to consolidate once again, and that's a common thing that I try to use as a strategy, is to consolidate my forces, do a massive push, and then consolidate again, then do a push, and the waves of attack can help break through against the defenses that others may have set up. So keep that in mind. It can be beneficial to try to consolidate the forces that you're attacking with. That way you can actually build up enough momentum to push in and actually win the fight. So we got most of our mechs upgraded here across the battlefield. This one lone T2 upgrading everything. I would definitely recommend doing a little bit more than just one constructor, as this does take forever. Oh, we have a bombing run coming in here. Thankfully, I have been adding a couple thrashers into our mix, which will help burst down a couple. They do get off a few bombs onto our army, onto our base here, but thankfully it was only build power, and build power is, if you have some, it's not too hard to rescale. So we'll just be rebuilding that relatively easily. Build power being a very, very valuable part of Beyond All Reason, and a very unique part, because a lot of people, you know, a lot of other RTSs don't have the aspect of build power. So it's a very unique thing to this game alone. Just kind of rebuilding here takes a little bit of time. You can see Green, the captain, pushing in on Pink's base relatively well here. Ooh, a very powerful spy bot, stunning all of these guys for maybe like, I think 16 seconds a piece. They're just stuck there, all because of one spy bot. That just shows you the power of spy bots. And if you're in a weakened position where you're not sure you'll be able to hold, a couple spy bots can give you massive advantage. What a great example of what you should do if you're falling behind on resources, falling behind on units. Excellent use of the spy bot here. We got T2 factory coming out, advanced vehicles, and we got a handful of lightning tanks, the Jaguar, very valuable, and also some starlights being very good at taking out heavy armies, heavy units. I'm actually kind of surprised he didn't add a couple bowls, as the bowl is very effective at doing damage and taking hits, whereas the Jaguar is a little bit weaker and is a little worse at actually taking the hits. They're kind of meant to do anti-spam rather than heavy aggressions. We got some T3, some Shivas pushing out from Turquoise on our team. Very effective units, very powerful, able to obliterate everything that they come in contact with. Look at those massive explosions, unmatched in all of Beyond All Reason. The power of the Shiva, massive damage, just wiping things off of the planet here. Especially against T1 defenses, they stand no chance against those heavy plasmas. And this is really going to be what ends the game here, is this Shiva push. It's just unstoppable at that moment. My economy is scaling. I'm starting to produce some mammoths, and we got a couple sumos out here as well. And we're getting ready to do a push, but really the game's going to be over before I even get a chance, because these Shivas just doing massive amounts of damage. We do have a couple catapults coming out, but catapults are just not the answer. You have to fight Shiva with Shiva, or even better yet is actually going for the mammoth. A mammoth versus a Shiva is going to be a really positive trade most of the time, because they just have so much DPS. Whereas the Shiva is focused mainly on large clusters of units, the Mammoth is more focusing its DPS on a single target. So that can be really a decent option if you're in a position like this, that yellow is in here. Yeah, all of his build power was destroyed. He has a couple bombers flying overhead, and this is really just the end of the game. We're gonna see, yep, a resign vote called here. Ra-O doing his very best to try to gun down the Shiva, but it was just too much. And another geo plant here exploded in a massive explosion. You can see we have officially called the resign vote, and that is how it ends in almost every Beyond All Reason game. If you guys enjoyed the video, definitely subscribe. We really appreciate it, and I will see you guys on the battlefield.